Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenithan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, champion reveal today. Today we have a lot of cards, and we have Rumble. Like we assumed yesterday after all the mecha yordles were revealed, Rumble himself is also a mecha yordle. Also, it has been confirmed that for synergy reasons, or for synergy in terms of synergy cases, mecha yordles are also yordles. So anything that affects a yordle will also affect a mecha yordle. Does that mean we're going to eventually get like purely just mecha yordle synergy? Maybe with like, I don't know, Corky? Maybe Corky will be a mecha yordle with mecha yordle synergy or something. But for now, there is no mecha yordle synergy. Also, we have the first actual Yordle Synergy card, a card that actually does something to specifically only Yordles that has been shown off today, and there's been a lot of talk about it. We'll talk about it a little bit here today as well. But yeah, let's get into it. Rumble is a great card, probably arguably the best out of all the champions we have seen so far. So, what is Rumble? He is a 4-mana 5/4 Mecha Yordle. Also, he is a multi-region card. He is in Noxus and Vandal City. I believe the lore reason for him being in Noxus is because the arena bookie is holding like some battle royale or something, and Rumble is joining in, as are all the other mecha yordles. So, what does he actually do though? Well, to play Rumble, you have to discard up to 3 cards. Now you could discard 0. But by discarding 3 cards, up to 3 cards, you give allied rumbles everywhere, so the other rumbles, impact for the first discarded card, quick attack for the second, spell shield for the third. It's huge that it affects all of your rumbles. So you don't even have to get all of the card. You don't have to keep discarding cards every time you summon him. So, you discard 3 cards with the first rumble, you're good. You don't have to have Rumble discard any more cards. You could have him discard more cards if you have some discard synergy. You have like Lost Souls or Risen Rider or Fallen Rider, whichever one is the non-discarded version. So yeah, this card is great alone. Now, before we talk too much about Rumble, let's look at his level up form. How to level him up. Rumble has to deal 12 damage. So, assuming no other cards and you've discarded at least 1 card, so he has impact. That's 2 attacks, right? Just 5 damage from himself, and then the 1 damage from impact, that's 6 damage already. Do a second attack, that's 12 damage. Boom, leveled up Rumble. Noxus has some ways to get like extra strikes. Bloody Business is one, and Rumble can actually use Bloody Business. Whirling Death is another. But yeah, that's also another thing you should probably consider. Rumble does have 5 attacks, so maybe some kind of weird reputation deck with Rumble. Not really liking that too much in terms of a deck, but there might be something there to experiment with. So yeah, like I don't think he's gonna be hard to level up either. Quick attack and spell shield and impact let him level up really easily. He can attack in really well, and it's so hard to deal with him. 4 health by itself for 4 mana is not the greatest, but it's tanky enough. Kind of hard to deal with things with 4 health anyway, already as it is. And then you add on Spell Shield on top. That's just really annoying. You're going to need things like Pokey Sticks and Vile Feast and Make It Rain to pop those efficiently. And then you actually have to deal the 4 damage. Challengers, I guess, could help in this scenario. It seems like with each and every single new Vandal City card, the Challenger keyword is getting just that much more value. But it feels like if you want to play Challengers, you should be playing Poppy as well. So, Yordles everywhere. Now, what does Rumble do when he levels up, though? When Rumble levels up, he has Quick Attack, Spell Shield, and Impact. Now, does this mean he has Impact 2? If you discarded cards to him previously? I think so. I think they showed that off in the trailer. I can't remember for sure. Probably something I should have looked at before I made this video. Whatever. But yeah, He gets his +1/+1 like most champions, so he's a 6/5 when he levels up. When you deal damage to the enemy Nexus, create a random Mecha Yordle in hand. Or if you already have one in hand, grant all Mecha Yordles in hand +1/+1 and reduce their cost by 1. So thanks to Impact, it's going to be really easy for him to get those Nexus strikes, right? So yeah, Rumble is going to create some really good value when he levels up. Not that hard to level him up. Yeah, he's terrifying in all honesty. And here's the thing. It's not saying when Rumble is dealing the damage. It says when you deal damage to the Nexus. So anything can do it. That doesn't mean just your units. It just says you as a player. So, you know, we could use like Mystic Shot, right? We could just shoot a Mystic Shot at the face. We could have like some random pings from Noxus cards that can just hit face and, you know, we'll give you a free Mecha Yordle or discount and give them +1/+1. And some of these Mecha Yordles, while they're not too big, like there's no Great Beyond or like Immortal Fire or something, they can be pretty game ending in all honesty. So I'm really scared of Rumble. Arguably, probably the strongest champ we've seen. I know I said Pantheon was the strongest champ, I think, in the set so far. Granted, we only had Kennen to compare to. I still think Pantheon is strong, but here's the problem with Pantheon. He's kind of in Target, and Target kind of sucks, in all honesty. Sure, the new cards and the new keyword Faded help out, but Rumble is just looking crazy overtuned. I'm scared. He's actually like the strongest champ in my opinion we've seen in a long time. I'm gonna look really stupid if he sees no play, by the way, but he's got a bigger stat line than like look at other 4-drops. Other 4-drops are 5/3s, like you know, Ash and Severe. And they don't activate your discard synergies, which Rumble does. Discarding doesn't have to be a downside. Remember that because of things like Lost Soul. So yeah, I do think he might be the strongest champ we've seen in a while. Really good tempo champ too if you play him on curve. Great synergy if you have him in a deck like Draven or just Noxus discard in general. You could pair him with Draven. You can pair him with Scion. I've thought of myself like maybe 2 Dravens, 3 Rumbles, and a single Scion. And then, you know, you play like a bunch of Lost Souls to have discard stuff. So between the Lost Souls and Draven Axes, you'll easily have fodder to discard 3 cards for Rumble. And you don't even need them a second time for the second Rumble because, you know, Rumble gives all Rumbles the keywords. Now, maybe his champion spell's not that good, right? Maybe that'll be it. Maybe it's a Poppy case where Poppy's great and Poppy's champ spell's not that great. The champion spell is Flame Spitter. 2-mana burst speed spell. Grant an ally +2/+0 and impact. Permanent buff. Not that good in all honesty, but not that bad. I do not think this is a card you will want to play in your deck. So I don't think you should ever have to worry about seeing someone play this card and playing around it. Unless some kind of really, really aggressive Bandle City deck shows up. Because in theory, this is representing 3 damage for 2 mana, you know, +2 or the +2, and then the impact is 1. And, you know, you put this on an unblocked unit, that's an extra 3 damage, which is kind of cute. We have played cards like this. Think like Brothers Bond. Brothers Bond was like +2/+0 on 2 things, and people played that for a bit, but I don't know. I don't think that many Bandle City decks want this. Like maybe Ziggs Poppy, perhaps, could use this as like a 1 or 2 of, but I'm not the biggest fan of this card. Still though, like I said, it's a fairly good spell, unlike say like Poppy Spell. Poppy Spell is kind of mediocre. Flame Spitter though, it's pretty okay. Definitely not going to feel too bad about having this with a, if you have like a second Rumble, you're not going to be too upset because it's an okay champ spell. But I feel like most of the time you'd rather have your first Rumble die so you could turn the Flame Spitter back into Rumble anyway. Next card. Probably the worst one out of all the spoiled cards today, in all honesty. Arena Mecha Caster. 6 mana, 4/5. Multi-region card, so Noxus Bandle City, so you could get this from Mayor, and Telescope, so there is that to consider. When this thing attacks, give other attacking allies +2/+0 for this round. Only a temporary buff. We see a lot of permanent buffs recently, but only a temporary buff for this guy. So it's bigger arena battlecaster, the 2-mana 2/2 that says when you attack, give everything +1/+0 for the turn. I think besides itself. So you're paying an extra 4 mana to give everything an extra +1/+0. And it does have bigger stats, but it's so slow. And it's a 6 mana 4/5, that's like the stat line of a 4-drop. So that's a really weak stat line for a 6 mana card. It needs something to make up for that weak stat line. Again, 6 mana is really slow, especially in this current meta, which is really fast. I don't think the stat line or the text of, the giving other attacking allies buffs is good enough. So yeah, I don't think this card is going to see play in anything. I don't think like any kind of swarm decks would play this. I think other swarm decks would rather play like Yordles in Arms or Poppy or I don't know, the newly shown Yordle Captain or something. Or just more rallies if they've gone wide. So I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think it's going to be good in either Noxus decks or Bandle City decks. I think Noxus decks, if they want this effect, would rather just play Battlecaster anyway. So not a fan of this. Think it's an unplayable card. That is not to say that I don't think you'll ever see this, because it's a multi-region card. You will see it from people playing Telescopes and Mayors, and those cards are still very playable cards. Next page, though. We got another page of cards. Let's look at them. Lots of cards here to talk about, though. A lot of these are, yeah. Only one of these cards, in my opinion, is kind of meh. First card up, Arena Promoter. 4 mana 4/3 with Tough. And it's a Yordle. To play the card, discard 1 to manifest a Mecha Yordle and reduce that Mecha Yordle by 1. Pretty good. 4 mana 4/3 stat line is kind of meh. 4 mana 4/3s are playable, but they don't feel great to play. 4-drop trading for like a 2-drop feels pretty bad. Tough does save it though. I do think if it weren't for the Tough keyword, this card would be not as good. It'd still be probably playable, but not as good. Also activates discards energy. I guess I should mention that too. And you can turn your Draven spinning axes into like scary real cards instead of just spinning axes, which while they're real, they're not that great. But yeah, I think it is a good card. 4 mana is a lot of mana in this game, as at the current speed the meta is. It is pretty slow. It's kind of easy to kill even with Tough. But the discount to the Mecha Yordle it gives, and just the Mecha Yordle in general, will help you to catch up on the tempo you are losing. So yeah. I like it. Big fan of this card. I think it might be just a little too slow, but I mean, I like the card. I'm very big fan of it. You could technically get like an Earthshaker or a Little Dipper on 5 with this. I'm pretty sure Earthshaker and Little Dipper are 6 mana. And that's a pretty good curve turn for Arena Promoter into turn 5 Earthshaker or turn 5 Little Dipper. But I don't know. I think it is playable. I think it's a very good card, but it just feels a little clunky. And might get cut in Rumble decks. Just because it feels a little, mostly in my opinion, it just feels a little awkward in the curve, really. Because, like, I feel like most of the time in the discard-oriented decks, you'd rather on turn 4 be playing Twin Blade from Lost Soul. So, yeah, I don't know. But I still think it's a good playable card. Next card up, I think is a little bit better than the Arena Promoter. Bilge Rat Rascal. 3 mana 3/2. It's kind of a bad stat line for a 3-drop. To play the card, discard 1 to manifest a Mecha Yordle. Okay, another Mecha Yordle creator. So that means there are 5 Mecha Yordle creators so far. Leveled up Rumble, the Arena Promoter, the Bilge Rat Rascal, the Scrap Heap, and Squeaker. I think they're all pretty good too. I think every single Mecha Yordle generator, non-champion generators, are pretty solid. I do think Squeaker is probably the worst out of all of them, but also the, I don't know, best to use, and I think, or cheapest to use, easiest to use, if that makes sense. I don't know. And I think Scrap Heap is the best. Like, creating a unit at burst speed is just insanely good. But yeah, Bildrat Rascal. Cards are really, really good. 3 mana, 3/2. It's a mediocre stat line, but not too terrible. At least it can block Fearsomes, which is good. Um, and giving a Mecha Yordle Spell Shield. It's a grant, too. It's a permanent Spell Shield. It's not just like, oh, it's going to have Spell Shield for that turn it's summoned or something. A permanent Spell Shield is nuts. You can give permanent Spell Shield to what? Like Earthshaker, Shadow Tech Walker, the elusive thing, Smash and Dash, a 3 mana 4/4. There's some good things to get Spell Shield. You could give it to Bouncer and Bolt to just give a Spell Shield challenger. So yeah, I'm really scared of this card. Dune Hopper mech with Spell Shield to it is a little scary. Spell Shield on Lil Dipper is not that great because you want it to die, I guess. Spell Shield on Trumpet Techer is not that amazing because, you know, its strength is in its summon and less in that its body itself and it's surviving. But still, though, Spell Shield is really good. The strength of the card is it generates the Mecha Yordle, and the Spell Shield is just a little cherry on top, right? Now, again, speaking about like curves and arena promoter, same with Bildrat Rascal. I guess I should also mention it's a Yordle too for Yordle synergies. Into that discard deck, you kind of do want to play Draven on turn 3 to get that Draven axis spinning and getting as many axes as you can get to discard to your discard synergy. But I'm not sure. I guess like you could technically just skip the Draven turn and just keep on going and generating Mecha Yordles because the Mecha Yordles are super overstated for their cost and overpowered for their cost in general. So you might even just skip playing Draven and you might just go for Bildrat Rascal anyway. Or vice versa, you might just play Draven to have more discard fodder. Who knows? I don't know. Card's nuts. Next up, the card I think is awful, the only bad one here. Fix Some Uppers. 2 mana 1/2. First time you discard a card or damage the enemy nexus, grant me +1/+2. So it's a vanilla 2 mana 3/3, but you need to activate something. It's not a hard thing to activate though. Dealing damage to the enemy nexus is not that difficult, especially with impact, or discarding a card is not that difficult either. You could technically level this up or level it up. You could activate it on the turn you play it with, say, like Poro Cannon. Not that bad. The problem, I think, is that it is a 2 mana card, and you would probably want to play this in a discard-oriented deck, and I feel like the discard-oriented decks are fine in the 2-drop slot. You know, you got or just like cheaper stuff. You got like Zonite Urchin for 1 mana cards, Fallen Rider, Risen Rider, whatever at the 2 mana slot. Boom Baboon as well if you're in PNZ. So I'm not sure. I think there's just better 2-drops. It's not bad. I think it's like a solid card for like expeditions, but I think in constructed where you can just play the best of the best, I think they're just better cards to play in any deck than this. Now then, next card. Electro Harpoon. I have no idea how to evaluate this card. I think it's a good card. The slow speed does put me off. Now, granted, if this was a fast speed card, this card would be nuts. But to play the card, you got to discard 1. So there's already a little negative side tack to it, unless you're discarding like Lost Soul, of course. But to play a discard 1, and then deal 2 to a unit, and then 2 to the enemy nexus. So it activates the whole dealing X to enemy nexus synergies, you know, like Fix Some Uppers or you know, leveled up Rumble, giving you some Mecha Yordles. It's pretty cool. The slow speed does worry me. I really don't like slow speed cards, but it's cheap. Kind of reminds me of Buster Cannon in terms of removal. Buster Cannon is also slow. It deals a little bit more damage and doesn't have the downside of having to discard. But this is cheaper and you don't need to activate it like you have to activate Buster Cannon, in that you have to play some extra units like multiple regions or have a Tristana. Sure, you could play a 4 mana Buster Cannon, but that feels bad if you do have to do that. So yeah, I'm a fan of this card. 2 mana is very cheap, easy to cast. In the correctly built deck, you'll always have something, or should always have something to discard to activate it anyway. Slow speed does hurt it a lot though, but it's perfect. Helps chip away, do a little extra chip damage while helping to pick off annoying things. Think like Vandal City Mayor is a good thing to pick off with this. The next card we'll talk about later, Yordle Explorer, is really good to pick off with Electro Harpoon as well. But yeah, it's like it's I wouldn't say it's no Mystic Shot, but it is definitely the next best thing, probably. Especially because Bandle City, it's a little weak-ish on removal. Sure, they have Pokey Sticks and Buster Shots and Mini Morphs, but not that great. So definitely a good substitute for Mystic Shot. Now the last card. Oh boy, this card. Definitely like a 10 out of 10 in terms of making people mad. Yordle Explore. 2-mana 2/2 Yordle. When you summon another Yordle, grant that Yordle +1/+1. First Yordle synergy we've gotten ever in the game. And if you've seen any kind of social media from other streamers, content creators, whatever, you have seen some strong opinions of this card probably. A lot of people are saying this card's busted. It needs to get nerfed now. I heard that even Ruben, one of the devs for the game, said on their stream that they think it might be a little bit overpowered. You have other people saying like it's not that good and people are overreacting. I'm more on the camp of it's really, really strong. And I'll tell you why. But so yeah, it's the connection was made right away. People are like, wow, it's Battlesmith, but instead of being for elites, it's for Yordles. And unlike Battlesmith, which buffs elites, Battlesmith is not an elite. Yordle Explorer will buff other Yordle Explorers, so that's pretty cool too. But the reason why I think it's so good is this is a card you need to remove. It's like the Bandle City Mayor. You know, you see a Bandle City Mayor, you're like, I need to remove that, or else they're going to get discounts and out-tempo me like crazy. You don't remove the Explorer, pretty much it's like a situational Poppy, and in the right deck, you're buffing like a good majority of your cards because a lot of cards are Yordles, like Lecturing Yordle, a lot of the champions, the Bandle City Mayor, etc., right? But let's say your opponent does remove your Yordle Explorer. That makes your Poppy and your Bandle City Mayor that much safer. And if you're also playing it, you know, Curious Shell folks. Your Zigs, your Rumbles, etc. Your I don't know, your Cannons, if you will. So yeah, this card is scary because your opponent needs to answer that, and by your opponent answering it, they are using removal which cannot be used on other units. In elites with Battlesmith, your opponent removes a Battlesmith, but there aren't that many must remove units in Battlesmith decks. I say Battlesmith decks. It's not like anyone really plays that card anyway, really. But yeah, as for the card itself, it's very understated. 2-mana 2/2s are kind of bad, but they can be playable. See things like Conchologist, especially if they give value right away when you summon them, like Conchologist. This card doesn't give value right away. It needs to survive a turn. But even if it does get removed with, say, like a Mystic Shot, it's still a evenish trade. 1 card for 1 card, 2-mana card for 2-mana card, and you're not that sad because then you just play Mayor. So yeah, I don't know. I'm scared of this card. I look at this card and I'm like, oh god, I have to remove it right now. And I just, outside of like Piltover and Zon and Mystic Shot, I find like, I think I'm going to have a hard time removing this card efficiently. Because there are other ways to remove it in other regions. They're just not as mana efficient. Like, you know, there's Culling Strikes, Thermogenic Beams, 2 pings, like 2 Vile Feast, 2 Pokey Sticks, I don't know, 2 Parlays, but that feels bad using 2 cards to remove 1 card. And then, like I said, you still have the Mayors and the Poppies to deal with as well. So that feels really bad for me. So I'm scared of this card. I could see this card also just not seeing any play at all, but I think this card is a very strong, annoying card, and we'll see a decent amount of play. Anyway, though, that's all the cards for today. A lot of good cards, only really like 1, maybe 2 duds if you include the Flame Spitter, which is a champ spell, which, you know, a lot of time champ spells aren't that amazing anyway. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your opinions on Rumble, and I'd also love to hear some opinions on Yordle Explorer too, and what you think of that card. But I would love to hear some kind of like deck building ideas you guys have for Rumble, who you think you would pair with Rumble, what regions would go well with Rumble. And if you just enjoy the video in general, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeniton, where I stream every single day, almost every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye.